Hello once again, everybody, and thank you for joining me in the Bettor's Box. It's BangTheBook.com's MLB betting podcast for Monday, April 8th. I am your host, Adam Burke. This and every edition of Bang the Book Radio presented by our friends over at DSI Sportsbook. BTB and the number 200 is that promo code. 100% deposit match bonus for the Sportsbook. 100% deposit match bonus for the live casino. At BetDSI, it's only a game until you bet it. Happy to have you back with me here as we kick off a new week on Bang the Book Radio. We'll have the Monday-Thursday format here with the Bettor's Box. And then tomorrow on Tuesday, I'll chat NHL playoffs and the Masters with Brian Blessing. So 3 shows here this week on Bang the Book Radio. Then we'll do a Friday segment with Christian Pina about the UFC card coming up here this weekend. So 4 days of Bang the Book Radio content this week. 2 editions of the Bettor's Box Monday, Thursday. Tuesday, NHL playoffs and the Masters. And then Friday, some UFC stuff. As you know, you can submit your questions to the Monday Mailbag at Skating Tripods on Twitter or Adam at BangTheBook.com. Also, if you want to get the notes from these Bettor's Box segments, you can email me, Adam at BangTheBook.com. I'll get you on the list for that. Obviously, it has not been a good start to the baseball season. I'll talk about that here in a few minutes, but you can still check out my daily picks and tips piece over at BangTheBook.com. Kyle Hunter will have his college basketball thoughts for tonight's national championship game over there as he finishes up his daily college basketball preview or daily college basketball picks. And then Kyle Hunter will have a playoff preview for us. Parker Michaels will have an NHL playoff preview for us for the first round here. Give us his thoughts on all the series and everything that's going on as it pertains to the NHL playoffs. We'll be doing NBA series previews as well for the playoffs and also game previews on every game. So you want to make sure you check that out over at the website. All right, so we're going to start with me getting up on a little bit of a soapbox. Then I'll go into the Monday Mailbag, then Beyond the Box Score, our Down the Line segment, our pick for Monday night, and then preview of the week ahead here. And I want to start first by apologizing. It has been a shitty start to the Major League Baseball season. It has been remarkably frustrating. I've basically gone through the stages of grief with this baseball season here so far. I've gone through the sadness. I've gone through the depression. I've gone through the anger. I've gone through the denial. I've gone through every possible thing here with this start to the baseball season. It hasn't even been 2 weeks into this effing thing yet, and already it's really wearing me down. The results that we've had, the work that I've put in where I haven't seen the reciprocation for, picking winners and going through and doing the media blitz out in Vegas for the guide and for the MLB betting tips, and then it all just comes crashing down with the start that I've had here so far to the Major League Baseball season. And look, I can't bullshit you, and I will never bullshit you here on the Bettor's Box or on anything over at BangTheBook.com. It has pissed me off, and it is very hard for me right now to not drop the only swear word I refuse to use on this show here. But I can promise you, I've used it a lot with regards to the start of the Major League Baseball season, and I want to try to use this as a learning tool. And it's really hard to do that because I'm pissed off. Again, obviously, I can't say that enough, how disappointed and how depressing the start to this baseball season has been. And look, I write the article and I do the research and I'm looking at all the different things that are going on, and I just sit there and I think to myself, how is this going to lose? How is this play going to find a way to not come through? And it's a crisis of confidence right now. It really, truly is. There's not a lot of conviction right now for me in my handicapping. And we go through this in this business, and I don't remember a time it's been this bad for me, largely because of the timing of it, with this being at the outset of the season. But, it's like any other line of work. When you don't have confidence or conviction in what you're doing, you're not going to do it well. And that's the problem that I'm facing right now here with the mental side of the baseball season so far is that, I cannot clearly handicap without having a clear mind. And right now I don't have a clear mind. And it's really hard for me. It's a difficult spot for me because I don't want to leave the listeners hanging. I don't want to leave the readers hanging. At the same time, right now it's just like, just digging a hole and digging it with my bare hands, not even using a shovel or any kind of tools. And it's really hard to do that at the outset of the season, because you want things to turn around. But with my style of handicapping, I don't have a whole lot of data right now. I'm forcing things. And I wrote about that today in my picks and tips piece that, I'm trying to reward readers for reading through the novels I'm putting out there every day with some picks at the end of all of it. Sometimes maybe it just needs to be about the sharing of information. It just needs to be about evaluating these pitchers, evaluating these teams, evaluating where everybody is at right now. But, I can't find the balance. And that will happen to you in this business, in this line of work, in this hobby, whatever you use handicapping as. And without fail, you always feel like you can punch your way out of it. Or you wind up chasing, get some of those losses back. You get impatient. You lose sight of what got you there and what you've had success with before. And I'm running through the gamut of all of those things right now. And this isn't to make you feel sorry for me. This isn't to make excuses or cover my tracks for how poorly the picks have gone so far. This is simply to address one of the coldest and harshest realities of being in this line of work. You will go through the slumps. You will go through the bad patches and the ruts. We watch it all the time. Look, this is sports. We watch it all the time. Guys can't find their shots. Guys go up to the batter's box and they feel like there's 2 strikes on them already every time they step in there. They're out there out in front of every breaking ball, fouling off any mistake that's there, behind on the fastball. You go through these things. And when you go through them at the start of the season, it's even worse. It just the feeling. You've got so much anticipation for the season. I was so excited about the Major League Baseball season. I was ready to go. I did the review guide. I did the betting tips. And quite frankly, I may have burned myself out before the season even started. I may have overanalyzed everything. This is not the keep it simple, stupid method. This is me probably overwhelming myself with information and looking to connect dots that aren't there and looking to overvalue and overanalyze small sample sizes of data that's out there. And all of it has affected me, and all of it has affected you. By reading the daily picks, by probably following along with them in some ways, and I sincerely apologize for all of it. And this is a mental thing that I have to get through. This is something where I either have to step away and wipe the slate clean and not worry about what I'm missing and say, you know what? Cut my loss. Let's get some more data. But then there's also that side of me that says, you know what? I'd rather swing my way out of it. I'd rather go down on my sword than get carried off on my shield, and bleed out somewhere else. It's one of those things where it's very hard to figure out what's right. It's very hard to decide, do I want to limit my exposure? Do I want to play more games at a lower bet size? What do I want to do here? And when you get one of these patches, it is a kick right in the face, a reminder that this is still gambling. This isn't called winning. This is called gambling. And you do everything you can with the information in front of you to make the smartest decision possible. And for me right now, I'm not making enough smart decisions. And it is weighing on me. I mean, I'm an hour late starting this show because in today's article, I agonized over keeping games off the card, keeping things off that would have been 1 or 2% plays last week, because I'm trying my damnedest to limit my exposure, let some of the sample sizes build up, and then get after it. And it's hard. It is so hard right now for me. And I will do everything I can to get back on the right track. I will do everything I can to continue sharing information in that article and here on the Bettor's Box so that you can decide for yourselves, what you want to believe in, what it is that you want to use to determine a bet. But right now, the mental side of this game is crushing me. It is weighing me down. And again, this will happen to you at some point if it hasn't happened already. I know a lot of people that are very successful bettors now these days that blew through their bankroll once or twice, all the way through, before they found that that place that was right for them, before they figured out what it was that they were doing wrong, what was important to them, what mattered the most. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen to us here this season. And obviously, again, we're off to a very bad start with the picks here from the article. But, again, I'm trying to learn as I go. Baseball, I feel like, is an area of expertise for me because of how I evaluate the game, because of how I study the game. But there are still things that I'm learning too. And one of the things I'm learning right now is how to handle this mental crisis of confidence, this complete and utter lack of conviction. And if you're somebody who wants to do this full time, somebody who wants to do this as a supplement, somebody who wants to take this really seriously, you're going to have to find the skill set to get through times like this. And for me, that's what I'm trying to do right now. And it's happened before in the past. It hasn't happened to this degree to where I had this level of expectation for myself at the start of the season because of everything that led into the season. So trying to get my way through it, this is almost a self-therapy session at the top of the Bettor's Box today. But again, if you're going to do this long enough and do this seriously enough, you're going to have to fight through these things here too. And you're going to have to decide how you want to fight through these things. And for me, I'm still working through that process. Today, I really limited my exposure, really lowered the number of plays. But again, we'll see. We'll see if things work out in my favor. But this is the hardest part of the business. Everybody can handicap a game. Everybody can come up with a structure of how they want to bet. They want to use a percentage system. They want to use Kelly. If they want to use martingale, some sort of betting system that's out there. Everybody can come up with that. It's the handicapping side or the mental side of handicapping that there is not a blueprint for. Because everybody has a different personality type. Everybody handles these things differently. Right now, it is beating the shit out of me. But I will do everything I can in my power to come out of it better on the other side, both for you and for me. So that's what I'm working through right now. And again, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize here about this business is that, it can be relentless when you're in a bad run. And especially when you have people looking to you for advice and for direction, you're not only letting yourself down, but you're letting them down too. And that makes it 2, 3, 4, 5 times harder. So that's what I'm working my way through right now. Please be patient with me. Keep reading the article. If you don't want to play the picks, God knows I understand that. If you want to fade the picks, God knows I understand that too. But, I appreciate that I haven't gotten all the hate tweets, that I haven't gotten all the FU kinds of feedback. I appreciate that. I think that maybe that's the goodwill that I've built up from being transparent over the years on the show, from, knowing how passionate I am about baseball and how deep I dig into everything. I appreciate all the patience from everybody. I know that has to be wearing thin, but it's wearing thin with myself too. So that's what I have to figure out. I have to clear my mind so that I can clearly handicap the card and not sit there and again step into every bet with an 0-2 count and feel like I have to fight for my life up there in the box. Trying to foul pitches off and just trying to keep my head above water. I have to figure that out, and that's a personal thing. And maybe that requires stepping away from the article for a couple of days. If that's the case, I'll let you know, and hopefully you'll understand that. But right now, again, I'm trying to work my way through this hellacious start to the season, and hopefully, we'll see some better days here ahead. So I apologize for spending the first, 13 minutes here of the show talking about this. And like I said, maybe it's just a self-therapy thing, a self-help thing. But again, if you do this long enough and seriously enough, you will hit a patch like this. I guarantee it. And learning how to get through it is a big part of the handicapping and betting process. And hopefully I can get through it here sooner rather than later. All right, we go into the Monday Mailbag segment here. We start with a couple of email questions from our good buddy, Rich Lamons. He says, first, did the Indians do anything special for the 30th anniversary of Major League? And quite frankly, I don't know. I know that was making the rounds on Twitter, but you know what? You would think, being a Clevelander, being an Indians fan, being a baseball fan, that I would love that movie. For a while, I did. But you get so tired of hearing the movie quoted and especially misquoted at games, then it just wears thin on you. The spring training scenes are great. It's almost a little bit like Full Metal Jacket in that the first 20 to 30 minutes are really, really good, and the rest of it can get a little bit arduous. But the spring training scenes are fantastic. There's a lot to like about that movie. Obviously, if you haven't seen it, I don't know why. But I don't know if the Indians did anything special. I didn't do anything special. I didn't watch it. But, it also kind of grinds my gears a little bit that the movie, some scenes were filmed in Cleveland, but the baseball stuff wasn't even filmed in Cleveland at all. Just something that, kind of bugs me a little bit. Probably more than it should. Second question here from Rich. Are there currently any doubleheaders on the schedule as of now? There is one makeup doubleheader. That's a split doubleheader, May 27th. The Pirates and the Reds in that one. There's actually a scheduled doubleheader, which I thought was fascinating. The Giants and the Diamondbacks on June 29th play a predetermined, pre-scheduled doubleheader. June 29th. That's very interesting. Maybe there's some situational spots coming in or out of that game, but they will have a scheduled doubleheader on June 29th. I know that's something that Major League Baseball has kind of talked about before, to incorporate some more off days into things, to have some scheduled doubleheaders on the weekends or something like that. But this is the first one that I can really remember. So on June 29th, the Giants and Diamondbacks with a scheduled doubleheader. Question here from Mark via email, longtime listener of the show, reaching out here. Says, can you talk about the different situational spots in baseball, such as getaway day unders, first day back from a long roadie, Sunday night game hangover? What are some other spots to isolate? Well, those are the big ones. The getaway day game unders in the summertime when it's hot. Everyone's kind of in those dog days before the All-Star break, stuff like that. Getaway day unders can definitely be a thing. Also, a lot of times you'll have managers sitting players for a day game after a night game. So you do get some of those getaway day unders to be sure. You can kind of figure out when those are going to be, typically on Thursdays with those getaway day games. Sometimes you'll see it on a Sunday as well, but, largely those getaway weekday games are the ones where you'll see a lot of those. The first day back from a long road trip, certainly one of them. Also, the second game from a long travel spot is another one. A lot of times you would think it would be the first game of a team going out west or a West Coast team going east, something like that. A lot of times it's the second game, and players will talk about this. I've seen quotes and snippets from Aaron Boone and some other former players and also some current players that second game is the harder one. Because with the first one, you're out on the road, want to start the road trip off on a good note, stuff like that. The second day, though, after you play that game that ends at 1 o'clock on your body clock, then you got to turn around and come back the next day, adjust the time change. Your sleep schedule's all thrown off. Usually the second game of a long trip out west going to be worse for an East Coast team and similarly for a West Coast team going east. So that's something you want to keep in mind as well. And also there can be some letdown spots in Major League Baseball. For example, the St. Louis Cardinals here, in their last 16 games, immediately following a series against the Cubs, they are 4-12. So there will be some spots like that. I think you can look to fade, the Yankees after playing the Red Sox and vice versa. The Cardinals and the Cubs, obviously here. You've got the Cardinals really struggling in that spot after playing the Cubs. I think that you probably could get some Dodgers and Rockies stuff with the Rockies. Now that they're close to the Dodgers in the division, I think those are series that they put a lot into. So maybe today is a decent spot to fade the Rockies from a situational standpoint, although I don't really like Julio Teheran at Coors Field. But I think those are things you can look at as well. Coming off of playing a rival, coming off of playing a good team. I've talked a lot about how when teams go out to Oakland, they do not play well in Oakland. It's a dump of a ballpark. The facilities aren't very good. There aren't a lot of fans, especially if it's during the week. So a lot of times really good AL teams on the East Coast will go out there and struggle. Cleveland, New York, Boston, those teams will go out there and have some problems in Oakland. I'm sure that there are other ballparks like that as well where they're just maybe not the greatest places to go. You probably get some teams that kind of get a little bit of a boost when they go to Texas and face bad pitching in a good offensive ballpark, something like that. I can get some situational spots based on venue as well where, it's almost like kind of handicapping players at golf courses where they've played really well in the past. Well, if you're an offensive guy and you're kind of struggling a little bit and you go to Texas or you go to Colorado, something like that, maybe that kind of gives you a little bit extra adrenaline knowing that you're going to a place that can probably help you get out of your funk. So I think there could be some situational spots like that to keep in mind as well. Mark also asked here, can you talk about the technique of arbitrage in baseball? For example, John Lester, and how we know the market will fade him. In fact, interestingly enough, the market not really fading John Lester here today. I am with a first 5 play, which hopefully you waited on because you got a better price on it. The market not really coming in against John Lester today. But I'll give you an example here. Let's talk about the last start let's talk about today's game, actually, for Kyle Freeland. So the market is fading Kyle Freeland against the Braves. At open, Pinnacle was plus 125 on the Braves, minus 135 on the Rockies. Now, plus 112 on the Braves, minus 121 on the Rockies. Now, at least that was as of when I put the notes together. So basically, the concept of arbitrage is to put yourself in a position to free roll the game and make some money if you get the underdog. So, well, not just that, but basically to be able to play both sides and put yourself in a position to either break even or make money. So, you bet 1 unit to win 1.25 units on the Braves at plus 125. Now you can bet 1.21 units to win 1 unit on the Rockies at minus 121. So essentially you break even if the Rockies win, and you make 4 cents on the dollar if the Braves win. Look at it from a bet online standpoint. The opener was plus 128 on the Braves, minus 138 on the Rockies. Now it's plus 112 on the Braves, minus 122 on the Rockies. So you could have bet 1 to win 1.28 on the Braves, and then now you can bet 1.22 to win 1 on the Rockies. So essentially, if the Rockies win, you break even. If the Braves win, you get a small profit. So this is mostly a concept used by those that are moving really big money, right? So let's take a look here. Minus 122 concept. Let's say you get the Braves at open at plus 128 because you know that money is coming in against Kyle Freeland. So if you're a $10,000 bettor, you bet $10,000 to win $12,800 on the Braves. Well, now the line has moved down with the Rockies minus 122. So you bet $12,200 on the Rockies to win $10,000. So you've got a $10,000 bet on the Braves to win $12,800. You've got $12,200 on the Rockies to win $10,000. If the Rockies win, you break even. If the Braves win, you win $600 where you didn't have any risk involved. So that's essentially what arbitrage is. You can also call it scraping. Really big bankrolls and really big groups will do this because you can't lose. The worst case scenario, if you've read the market correctly, is that you will break even. So you look at it as an example here from over the weekend on Friday with Jake Odorizzi and Nick Pivetta, the game between the Twins and the Phillies. We knew that money was coming in on Nick Pivetta. So for Pivetta, minus 135 was the price. You bet 135 to win 100. Well, the line closed plus 146 on Minnesota, minus 156 on Philadelphia. At that point, you can bet 100 to win 146 on the Twins. So again, you're free rolling that game where if the favorite wins, you break even. If the dog wins, you win money. And obviously, if you want, you can just hold your closing line value on the side that moved. So that's what arbitrage is. That's also called scraping. It's not a concept that a lot of people are going to use if they're just betting, $100 or $500 or something like that. But if you're moving substantial money, that's where you'd want to use arbitrage because it's a risk-free proposition to where you make money if that underdog or that plus money ticket wins, and then you break even if that favorite wins. And if you get plus money on both sides, that's obviously the creme de la creme. That's something you want to try to do if you possibly can. And there are opportunities to do that in Major League Baseball to where it's literally a risk-free profit. So that's what arbitrage is. And again, if you're somebody who's betting $50 or $100 or something like that, it's not really all that beneficial to you because you're not going to see a lot of gains. If you've got a rollover to meet for a bonus requirement or something like that, then it is something that you can do. But still, you want to try and get out in front of the market, get as much closing line value as possible, reading the market, reading which pitchers are going to take money, which ones aren't. But arbitrage is definitely something that large groups will do. That's why you will see a lot of lines kind of come down, and then you'll see that buyback. A lot of times that's what that buyback is. You know that the market's going to fade Kyle Freeland. Well, maybe at the tail end, you'll see that line come back up 5 cents or something like that. That's probably a group doing some scraping, doing some arbitrage to get that risk-free proposition out there. So, again, you really need a big bankroll to do it. Obviously, again, if you're able to put $10,000 out there, on one side, $12,200 on another side to get a free $600, you're moving some substantial money. But that is something that happens in both the NHL and Major League Baseball here in these money line sports, and that is arbitrage. So basically it's a risk-free type of betting strategy to where you're hoping to get a profit with a plus money price, and then you would break even if you're laying a number. So again, you've got to put a lot of money at risk, which is why this is something where you'd need a lot of money involved for it to really matter a lot. But again, it is something that is an opportunity out there. If you are, in a position to do that, odds are you're probably not listening to the show if you're in a position to arbitrage like that, and certainly you would already know about that concept. But that's essentially what it is. You're looking to put yourself in a position to have a risk-free opportunity at profit. Usually, more often than not, you'll probably wind up breaking even, but you will have that chance to win a little bit to show for your time there. Finally, the last question here from Mark is, he says, I will be heading to Northwest Ohio this upcoming weekend. Any recommendations of local craft IPAs to check out? One of my favorite breweries in the state of Ohio is Black Cloister Brewing Company. It's up in Toledo. Very, very good pizza. And also the best Belgian I've had that's not imported from Belgium. It's called Chain Dog. It's about 9.5%, 10%. One of those dark, strong ales. Really, really good. I imagine it's on tap this weekend, Mark, just because it's more of a winter beer. They're probably trying to phase it out a little bit. But that's a really, really good brewing company up there, Black Cloister. Also, you want a food recommendation, go to Tony Pacos for some chili dogs. It's a place referenced by Corporal Klinger on MASH. He mentions he's from Toledo all the time, wears a Mud Hens shirt, Mud Hens jersey, Mud Hens hat. Tony Pacos, very, very good for chili dogs up there. Really cool spot, too. And some interesting stuff on the walls. You can see who all was there. All that type of thing. Another one, Twin Oast, has a pretty good IPA. I think they've started canning it now. So you could probably pick that up while you're up there. You're close to Michigan, so you've got Bell's and Founders if you've never had that. Also, being in the state of Ohio, you'll get Rheingeist, which is very good. Truth is an excellent IPA. Hustle is an excellent IPA. Mad Tree Brewing Company is rounding third. Is a very good IPA. Also baseball themed, so I like that. And you should be able to get some Madison stuff as well. So, for anyone that's ever in Ohio, there's some breweries and some beers for you to check out. Another question here from Henry Lee, via email, asking about Anaheim and Angels Stadium and about if it's more of an over venue now that they shortened the fence in right center field. Angels home games, 44, 35, and 6 to the under last year, 40, 36, and 5 to the under in 2017. So not a huge difference. Yes, the walls are lower. Maybe from a spot play standpoint, guy with less command, guy with platoon splits where you can't get lefties out, maybe something like that could have an impact on the over at Angel Stadium. But for right now, we don't see anything in the data that would suggest that's made a big difference. Had a listener question about putting a buy price up in my picks and tips article. And, look, I think it's just kind of up to your own discretion. I'm not going to put a buy price in there because I'm not exactly sure where some of the lines are going to move sometimes. If it's an obvious line move, then I know it's going to move. So you certainly want to make your adjustments at that point. But keep in mind that your break-even rate's going to go up roughly about 0.75% with each 5 cents of juice that you add. As you get up to minus 200, then it's more like 0.75% for every 10 cents of juice that you add. So, yes, as these lines move around, you probably do want to consider, if you want to make the same bet size, stuff like that. I won't put a buy price in the article. I don't want to, it's tough. I want to give out information and also give out picks at the same time. So, again, that's why I was a little bit hesitant to do the tracking. And certainly now, you could see why I probably didn't want to track this season. But it's one of those things where it's up to you. It's up to your discretion. It's up to your understanding of the markets. If it's moved a few cents, it's probably okay. If it's moved 10 to 15 cents, I've had some that have moved 20 cents here. Well, then at that point, you probably do want to evaluate, hey, do I want to put the suggested bet amount on this or not? But again, keep in mind, as your break-even rate goes up, you've got some some different considerations with that as well. So sorry if I missed any questions here in the Monday mailbag. Obviously, it's been it's been tough to keep up with everything, and also with how I've struggled. I certainly appreciate everyone that's still reaching out with kind words and everything. But if I missed any questions, I do apologize. If you ever want to ask anything for the Monday mailbag, at Skating Tripods on Twitter or Adam@bangthebook.com. If you want to get on the mailing list for the notes as well, Adam@bangthebook.com. All right, so let's go beyond the box score here. Let's look at a few series that just concluded. Let's start with a look at the Indians with their sweep over the Blue Jays. Best start for the Indians since 2011 here with this 4-game sweep. I believe there's 6-3, 7-3, whatever the hell they are. No Francisco Lindor, obviously. Nothing really from Jose Ramirez yet. He's hitting 194 with a 235 on base, 258 slugging. But the starting pitching dominance for the Indians has clearly been on display. Toronto just 3 for 25 with runners in scoring position in this series. And, look, they hit a couple of balls that should have left the yard on Thursday as well. But this is a different-looking lineup. They are not the same exit velocity group that they were last year. It's just not a very good lineup at all. I will say, though, their pitchers impressed me in this series. I thought Trent Thornton looked really good, mixed his arsenal really, really well. Marcus Stroman pitched very well. Aaron Sanchez looked pretty decent also. Right now, Toronto, amazingly enough, number 1 in FWAR for pitching staffs here on the season. Had some bullpen hiccups in this series, but I think their pitching staff looks pretty decent here so far. They've got some guys with some interesting arsenals, like a Thornton, Stroman with the extreme ground ball rate. They're a pretty interesting under team, I think, as we go forward here. The Indians have struck out in 31.3% of their plate appearances, but Indians pitchers have struck out the opposition in 32% of their plate appearances. So that's why the Indians have been such a good under team here so far. Just not a whole lot of balls in play, not much power for them so far this season either. And as we transition over into the next series with the Detroit Tigers, that's who the Indians will end up playing here this week. And the Tigers, second in Fangraphs WAR in terms of the pitching staff, which is exactly what we all expected here. But what I want to focus on for the Tigers is that their offense is going to regress. And their offense already isn't very good anyway. But they're living on walks right now. They drew 17 walks in that series against the Royals. They're 7th in walk percentage, 11.4%. And a lot of that is because teams just aren't throwing them strikes. 8th lowest zone percentage per Pitch Info Solutions. The lowest zone percentage per Fangraphs. They're batting 181 as a team with a 250 batting average on balls in play. So what's happening with the Tigers right now is that they're drawing walks to get guys on base, and they're really sequencing their hits well together. They've had a lot of instances here where they've, gone single-double or double-double or double-triple. They hit a grand slam in this series against Kansas City. That's what's carrying them offensively right now. And that's probably not sustainable. They're not going to maintain a high walk rate, I don't think. And, they're really sequencing their hits together well. Now, they will start to have more success on batted balls. But will they continue to sequence at the same rate that they are right now? I don't think that's going to be the case. The Tigers are probably going to fall off pretty quickly here. I think their starting pitching should fall off relatively quickly. And then also, once they face teams that start throwing a lot of pitches in the zone, that walk rate will probably go down. I would expect that walk rate to go down here this week. I'll talk about that at the tail end of the show. Final series look at here, Nationals and the Mets. The Nationals bullpen gave up 8 runs in this series. The Mets bullpen gave up 12. Zach Wheeler was terrible on Sunday. Before that, the Nationals only had 3 hits off of Steven Matz and Noah Syndergaard. One of them a 2-roamer off of Syndergaard. It was the only hit he gave up in 6 innings. So the Nationals offense kind of sputtering a little bit against starting pitchers, doing some damage against bullpens. How about Trevor Rosenthal? On Sunday, 7 pitches, only 1 strike, walked a guy, 2 wild pitches, hit a guy. Rosenthal's faced 9 batters so far. He's recorded 0 outs, 4 hits, 4 walks, and a hit by pitch. 4 appearances for Rosenthal, and he's technically recorded 0.0 innings pitched because he doesn't have any outs. And for the Nationals here, Dave Martinez is in way over his head. His bullpen management has not been stellar. I don't know why Victor Robles is still batting 9th. I have no idea. The second leadoff hitter is a stupid, archaic, bullshit concept. I don't know why he's doing it. Robles needs to be up in the order more. Crazy. Dave Martinez is in way over his head here for the Nationals. If they go to the playoffs this year, it's going to be on talent alone, because he's not going to help them a whole hell of a lot. Some league-wide things I want to bring to your attention here real quickly. How about this? 355 home runs already in a week and a half, and it's still relatively chilly in a lot of places. We had 912 home runs in April last year, 863 in the first month of the season in 2017. So big power spike here already so far. Does look like the balls are a little bit juiced. A lot of high velocity contact as well. A lot of teams setting records of, the hardest home run hit in the StatCast era, which started in 2015. You wouldn't expect that usually in the first month of the year. So something is going on with the baseballs. This will be something you want to watch as we go into the summer months here. Unders may be very, very scary to play once we get deeper into the season here. And in fact, overs already a little bit of a slant that way. 71, 66, and 6 so far this season to the over. Walk rates are way up and strikeout rates also way up. Walk rate 9.5% so far. It was 9% in the first month of the year last year. Strikeout rate 23%, up from 22.7%. So, lots of walks and lots of home runs so far here this season, which has probably kind of hurt me a little bit here from a betting standpoint. Something I didn't expect was a lot more home runs. It hurt me with the first 5 bet yesterday with the Cardinals and the Pirates. It hurt me with the first 5 bet with the Tigers and the Royals the other day. It's just been one of those things where starters are giving up a lot of hard contact so far, a lot of home runs, a lot of walks. I think that's really negatively affected me, something I couldn't plan for, and another reason why I should have kept my exposure a little bit lower here early on in the season. Favorites 83 and 58, but if you're blindly playing favorites so far, you're a $100 better, you're down $36 on the season, down 136, I should say, for $100 bettors. Run line 61 and 80 for the favorites. You're down $120 if you're a $100 better on those. I've talked about the favorites minus 181 or higher. So far this year, 17 of them, they are just 10 and 7. You're minus almost $700 as a $100 better. The big favorites, those games are 11, 5, and 1 to the over, but dogs have been barking here so far in the month of April. So if you've been a big underdog player specifically, you're off to a very nice start. Let's go down the lines here, look at some line moves dating back to the last show on Thursday. One thing I did look at here this morning, and this is one of the reasons why I was a little delayed with today's show, tracking moves of 20 or more cents at bookmaker from open to close. Those are 25 and 16 on the season here so far. Some of those big dogs, some of those big favorites, pretty wide range of line movers here at bookmaker to start the year. Friday, we saw money come in on Joe Musgrove and the Pirates. That was a fade of Sonny Gray. That will probably continue. Sonny Gray hasn't looked all that impressive so far. Not a lot of people confident in him here in the betting market. Saw some big dog money on the Marlins come in against Kevin Gausman. Weren't sure what to expect from Gausman there in that one. That money wound up being the wrong side in that game. Friday, as I mentioned during the arbitrage segment, saw some very heavy money on Nick Pivetta. That was against Jake Odorizzi and the Twins. Saw very heavy Jack Flaherty money come in against the Padres. That one wound up losing. Nick Margevicius pitched pretty well for the Padres in that one. The Padres offense off to a very slow start here so far. I'll talk about that more in a couple of minutes, but they did pretty well against Jack Flaherty there. Flaherty off to a slow start this season. On Saturday, we saw money come in again on Patrick Corbin. A bunch of bullpen shenanigans in that one, but 2 games, 2 heavy bits of steam for Patrick Corbin here so far this season. Also on Saturday, we saw money come in against Trevor Williams. This will happen start after start after start. The market will fade Trevor Williams. I cannot stress that enough. Saw money come in once again on Chris Paddock. Big line move in Saturday's game against the Cardinals. Was the wrong side there in that one. Paddock did struggle a little bit in that start. Had some walk issues, some significant walk issues. Struggled to put guys away with 2 strikes. Money's come in heavy on him in both of his starts here so far. I may look to fade him here in his next outing. Money come in again on John Gray. Again, that will keep happening. John Gray, big ERA to xFIP split guy. Saw money come in heavy against Drew Smyly for the second time this season. The Rangers starting pitcher there. Money also fading Shelby Miller a lot for the Rangers. So get in front of those line moves. Fade Drew Smyly, fade Shelby Miller early on. Those should work out for you pretty well. Saw money coming against Jay Happ. although he came through in this start. The Yankees are messing with his pitch usage. I'm very worried about J. Happ as we go forward here. Lower fastball usage, more secondaries. His secondaries aren't particularly good. His best asset is his fastball command. If the Yankees don't leave well enough alone, that fade will continue on J. Happ, and it will probably be profitable to fade J. Happ. So far, his 2 starts against the Orioles, who obviously got off to a nice start. They're going to be one of the worst teams in baseball as we go throughout here. But J. Happ, when he takes on somebody better than the Orioles, probably see money come in against him, and we'll see what kinds of results we get there. Money came in against Wade Miley on Saturday night. That was Aaron Brooks going for the A's. Miley was the right side, pitched well, back to his contact management stuff. Astros with a sweep there of the A's over the weekend. Sunday, we saw money come in against Zach Davies and the Brewers. The Brewers already +3 in Pythagorean win-loss. We're going to start to see some fades in that department here with some of the overachievers early on in the season. Money came in against Adam Wainwright. We were on the over, and of course, he struck out 9 over 7 innings, about his best start in God knows how long. But money did come in against him and wound up being the wrong side there in that one. Saw Julio Urias money come in against Colorado and Chad Bettis. That's 2 big fades of Chad Bettis already. Expect that to be the factor going forward here. Monday, saw a fade of John Lester. Now we're getting the Lester buyback. That's an early start time here. That is a game in my picks and tips piece. Most people probably won't hear this show before we get to that point, but did see some initial fade of Lester, now some buyback of Lester. I don't think there's a lot of confidence in the Pirates out there in the marketplace, and also the Cubs offense has been really good. Now, I am on Pittsburgh first 5. It's my 3% play for today. Hopefully Lester does show those signs of regression, but interesting to see that line move kind of bounce around there. Saw a fade of the Dodgers early on. That's Hyun-Jin Ryu going up against Miles Mikolas and the Cardinals. It's a Monday. Kyle Freeland's on the mound. Money's coming in against Kyle Freeland. Again, going to happen all the time. Which is interesting here to me in this spot. Look, the Rockies' offense isn't very good, but Julio Teheran had a big ERA to xFIP split last year. He's a fly ball guy going to Coors Field. I didn't have the heart to play that game or the conviction to play that game, but it's weird to me to see money come in on Teheran, who's probably less likely to sustain what he did last year than Kyle Freeland, but money coming in against Kyle Freeland. So we'll see what happens there. The Mariners, money coming in against them as well. Again, market looking for regression on them. So they're getting some negative opinions out there in the marketplace. That happened in the series against the White Sox throughout as well. People lining up to fade Seattle at this point in time. Money coming in against the Brewers once again here today. So keep an eye out for that because a lot of people expect them to fade back into the pack, viewing them as an overachiever here so far early in the season. Mentioned the Pirates first 5 as a play. By the time you get this out, you probably won't be able to hit that one. So my pick of the day here, going to be the Padres and the Giants under 7. Again, very scary here, as I mentioned, with the increase in walks, increase in home runs. But the Giants' offense sucks. The Padres, I think they're going to struggle against guys that have a plan. Wainwright had a plan yesterday. Good curveball. Padres struggled. Very aggressive lineup. A lot of swing and miss. Not a big surprise after the fact. I actually thought of it as I hit publish on the article, and I thought, watch Wainwright deal, because he's a veteran guy who changes speeds, can play off of their aggressiveness. Of course, he did. Now we've got Madison Bumgarner, who the stuff looks really good. And I detailed this in my article today that, when you look at his start against the Dodgers, it was one bad inning. And he walked a guy. He had a throwing error, kind of created his own issues. Cody Bellinger hits the grand slam. I think Madison Bumgarner might be back to some degree here this year. The spin rates are up quite a bit on all of his pitches, which suggests that he's healthier. He's throwing the slider more. I obviously don't love Eric Lauer, but he's, pitch to contact guy. The Giants can't string hits together. I like the under 7 tonight out there on the West Coast between the Padres and the Giants. All right, 4 series to preview here for the week ahead. We start with the Yankees and the Astros. Masahiro Tanaka, Justin Verlander tonight, Jonathan Loaisiga and Garrett Cole tomorrow, James Paxton, Colin McHugh on Wednesday. Tough spots here for the Yankees, getting Verlander and Cole. We've seen Cole money hit the board a couple times here this season. Probably see it again tomorrow. The iffy game is Colin McHugh against James Paxton, but look, the Yankees are so shorthanded right now with a lot of injuries. I think they got Aaron Hicks back over the weekend, though, so that'll help them. Astros pen's been quietly very, very good. Minute Maid Park is a little bit of an under park, so maybe some unders here in this series. But for the Yankees, tough spot here getting Verlander and Cole when they are so dinged up. Indians and Tigers, they'll fire this one up starting tomorrow. All 3 day games here for this Indians versus Tigers series. The Tigers are second in pitching F4. The Indians are third. You've got Corey Kluber, Jordan Zimmerman on Tuesday, Trevor Bauer, Matt Boyd on Wednesday, Shane Bieber and Spencer Turnbull on Thursday. Probably a couple more unders on the back end here in that Bauer and Boyd game. Bieber and Turnbull as well. Bieber changing up his arsenal over the weekend. A lot more sliders. Showcased the changeup a little bit more. Fewer fastballs. His fastball gets hit hard. Big arsenal change for Shane Bieber. That should work out extremely well. Spencer Turnbull threw the ball really well in that first 5 under that we lost. Just some sequencing issues in that game. But Turnbull threw it well. Boyd at home is a guy I like quite a bit. He's already got a couple of 10 strikeout games. As I mentioned, the Indians, 31% strikeout rate here so far this year. So I think we're looking at unders Wednesday and Thursday in this series. Zimmerman with some arsenal changes. We'll see how those stick. Kluber looked terrible against the White Sox. We'll see how he bounces back. But probably a low-scoring series here on Wednesday and Thursday. Probably look to be playing unders in those games at Comerica Park. Dodgers and the Cardinals. As I mentioned, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Miles Mikolas tonight. Ross Stripling, Dakota Hudson on Tuesday. Kenta Maeda, Jack Flaherty on Wednesday. Walker Buehler, Michael Wacha on Thursday. Wacha walked 8 and still managed to only give up 1 run in his start against the Padres on Friday. Look, the Dodgers are firing on all cylinders right now. Offensively, pitching's been good. Cardinals are kind of all over the place. Tough series to cap here. Would certainly look to the Dodgers side more often than not. But, again, what do we get from these guys in this series? Do we get a better Stripling effort? What does Dakota Hudson look like? Kenta Maeda has gotten some love in the betting market, but Jack Flaherty, a Cy Young candidate type of guy. Walker Buehler probably takes money on Thursday. Tricky series to cap, I think, but obviously one that's going to draw a lot of headlines here this week. Finally, one more series to take a look at, the Twins and the Mets. Second straight road interleague series for the Twins. In that series against the Phillies, Nelson Cruz had 1 plate appearance. I doubt he gets an outfield start here at Citi Field. I don't think the Twins want to screw around with that. They only had 7 runs in those 3 games outside of a pinch hit 9th inning home run from Eddie Rosario. So 1 plate appearance for Nelson Cruz. The Twins didn't do much offensively. Maybe we look at some unders here in this series. Kyle Gibson, Jacob deGrom in the first one on Tuesday. Jake Odorizzi, Noah Syndergaard on Wednesday. Decent park for Odorizzi, who has a home run problem, but Citi Field does suppress power, probably better than just about any park out there. So maybe an under on Wednesday with Odorizzi and Syndergaard. Again, looks like we probably won't see Nelson Cruz again. He's a big piece of that cog for the Twins offense. So that's a little bit of a tough spot there for Cruz to get basically, a handful of 2 or 3 plate appearances over a span of 5 games. Tough scheduling setup there for the Twins. And, for the Mets, hey, their bullpen, kind of a mess. The starting pitchers have been outstanding. The bullpen's been a bit of a mess. So maybe some first 5 unders in that Twins and Mets series here this week, only a couple of games. So, again, I know I went over a lot here on today's show. I know I kind of had that soliloquy and monologue at the top of the show. But, again, I just want you to know that I appreciate the patience. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the feedback. I apologize for the start to the season. Really hope I get back on track here very, very soon. Just know that, I'm spending every waking hour trying to figure out what I can do differently, what information I can start to look at here, and it's wearing on me. So, I'm doing everything I can, and I appreciate your patience. Again, all your kind words about the show. A lot of people love the show. Happy with that. Hopefully I get you to a point where you love the picks article as well. Tuesday, I'll chat with Brian Blessing about the NHL playoffs and about the Masters. Thursday, another edition of the Bettor's Box. Friday, we'll talk UFC with Christian Pina. That'll do it for me. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And remember that you'll never strike out when you're in the Bettor's Box.